I went back and look at the stats of your games on CBS that I got to call, it's going to be maybe the highest average number of touchdown passes per game of any quarterback ever called.
I think you're right.
What are the things that you absolutely need when you're calling a game?
Jim Nantz.
I need a hot dog at halftime. I don't eat hot dogs any other time of the year except the halftime of the NFL games, 22 a year. And I don't actually consume the entire hot dog. It's a ritual. I'll go 3/4 of the way through and I'll throw the rest out and go call the second half. So it starts there. It starts with a hot dog.
Condiments on the hot dog, or?
He's not as detailed with the condiments.
No, actually, we travel our own ketchup because I don't like those those little packets that all of a sudden it squirts all over your tie.
We need ketchup.
We travel ketchup. I don't. The crew brings in ketchup because they know we're a couple of guys that are likely to make a mess. So, we're not being divas either. Like, bring us our ketchup. We got to travel our ketchup. Where is it this week?
It sounds like it's almost a superstition. Like, Tony, did you have any pregame superstitions that kind of like carried over?
We used to sing a lot, and then I think maybe I was hurting my voice from time to time. But
we ought to bring it back.
I think it's time to bring it back.
So we had these little speakers in the booth, and it was always
Red Hill Mining Town.
Red Hill Mining Town, and he would have to hit certain notes. And the truck is going crazy because they're saying 20 seconds to air, 10 seconds to air, and he's still screeching out the last notes. 5 seconds to air, and all of a sudden, hello, friends, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo.
It's not kidding.
What about drinks? Like you just said, you're conscious of your voice. Like, what's your beverage on hand? Is it just water, or you gotta have a certain?
I gotta have Gatorade, but that's in general. But I think water, Gatorade, and I probably have a Coke or a Pepsi when I'm there. Yeah, every time.
Tony, one thing on Gatorade. Do you call them by flavor or by color?
Oh, color. Yeah, I've never thought of it by flavor.
I have tea, hot tea, and I don't care if I'm calling a golf tournament in 100-degree heat. I just, whatever, maybe it's a superstition. I like to have it, coat the voice, have it by standby.
Tommy Spencer and Tom
simple.
Brewer.
Yeah, we've got two guys, the two Toms. I got Tommy Spencer to my left. He's got Tommy Brewer to his right. And they are both editorial consultants feeding us a lot of thoughts and information and essential. Couldn't do the show without them. You work all week on putting together the full rosters and the matchups. So I have an offense, say Kansas City's offense against the Cincinnati defense. So you see them lined up against each other, and you're able to tell who's on the field with a second set of eyes. And then you can flip it over, and you got the Bengals offense, Joe Burrow, his backups, their line, their backups against the Kansas City defense. And you're not reading. You can't read a broadcast, but it is there for those moments when you have a spare second or two during a commercial break, whatever, to make sure you're not missing anything. You've touched all the high points. I've been building boards now. This will be my 40th year at CBS. I have every board of every game I've ever broadcast, including the NCAA tournament. I have them in California, and I have them all set up by year. And I save them because sometimes someone will come back and say, I played in such and such game you called back in 1991. I'll go back and look at the board, and yeah, there they were. And here's what I had written down about them.
To me, there are times where he has to tell you who made the tackle and who got tackled. And sometimes you have the third or fourth string guy at a position, someone gets hurt and stuff, and all of a sudden something that he's in his second year, he's from Montana State. And
known him my whole life.
Yes, and it's literally coming across as if it's...
I had Grant Hill out to my house at Pebble Beach a year ago, and I took him up to the room where I've stored and archived all the boards. And he said, I would love to see what you had written down. So I went back and found the very first one and what I had when he was a freshman and what I had written down about him during a couple of the championship games that they won. And he just poured over it and said, this is amazing. And, he knows that was sitting right there in that arena that day. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with him one day. I'm going to pass him on to my kids.
They're going to be into the Hall of Fame.
It's going to be a great fire starter for him in the fireplace. Just throw him in there.
No.
But, when we did the Buffalo-Kansas City divisional game, the 42-36 overtime thriller
13
a couple
seconds.
Years ago.
Yeah.
the 13 seconds game. The Hall of Fame called and they asked if they could have my board from that game.
Wow.
I said, yes, but you can have it for 1 year because I want it back. So it was displayed for a year, and then they sent it back.
What'd your board say about Tony?
He was amazing or something.
Future broadcast partner.
You saw the future. Master Dobbs.
I would love to go back and look. I'm sure that, it was information that hopefully people weren't familiar with because the basic information, undrafted out of
it's the
Eastern
first time
Illinois,
you've seen
everybody
this
knows
different
all
than
that.
the last time you're doing it.
Yeah, it
You know,
changes.
it evolves.
I don't need to
each
put
time
the
you do it.
stuff down that it's right off the top of the head. Tony had a prolific career, but his best games actually were on CBS. he had some monster performances that I got to lay eyes on, including 5-touchdown game.
Yeah.
If I went back and look at the stats of your games on CBS that I got to call, it's going to be maybe the highest average number of touchdown passes per game of any quarterback ever called.
I think you're right.